grant, and Brenda and Carol and others worked under the guidance of the consultant, and really their output is the very exquisite labeling of these many boxes that you see here. And because it was such a tall order and a tall task, we still have lots of things to do. But basically that was their role. If I missed anything, please jump in, but to inventory and catalog things so that we can get this map in a position and get our data finders in a position. And when I say a data finder, what I mean is a binder and also a CD, much like any kind of a reference tool, which will be your guide for determining where things are here. So that's an example of the data finder, and it breaks down, as I was mentioning before, the documentation into various categories, and that really is our goal here. Our goal is to do just that. We have certainly a lot of one-of-a-kind documents as well. We started a collection of family history books, and there have been some families who have been around in Manchester for some time, and this is a book called The Colonial Ancestors by Bernice Andrews Livingston Reed, and she was and her husband, well, she's passed on, but her and her husband owned what is called the Shady Glendora. But these are her memoirs of her family, and she donated that book to us.
She's from Manchester?
Yes. Originally, I don't know. Come on down. You want to be on TV?
No.
Okay.
I just want a map.
They can help you get one off the computer upstairs, you know. Also, we have other interesting books. This is from a good friend of my family, Vincent L. Diana. He's an attorney in town. These are his memoirs of his family's emigration to Manchester from southern Italy. It's called The Culmination of American Dream. That's a donation on his part.
Now, Joseph, if I came here and I wanted to find out if there are any Folsoms in Manchester, how would I do that?
Well,
from
you
1823?
would come here on June 5th, which is our 12th annual Family History Day.
Oh.
And we have, we open up the office, and we have about 8 or 10 professional genealogists who will do a free 30-minute consultation. And it's not just about Manchester records. These genealogists are professionals to the point where they specialize in Western and Eastern European history as well as Asian history and Latin American history.
But if I come someday when it isn't June 5th, just an ordinary day, how would I find Folsoms?
I don't. No, we would help guide you through it. I mean, obviously we don't have the staffing to spend lots of time with customers in that regard, but we can get you started. There's ways to do that.
That's what you're digitizing, all of those things?
Yeah, again, going back to the records are digitized, it's mainly the land records and the maps. And again, we're back to 1823. You can go on our website at townofmanchester.org and /town-clerk, and you can see the indexes for all these records back to 1823. And there's no cost for that. Eventually, we're hoping to put our images online. There may be a modest fee with a subscription system there, but it's a 24/7 way of searching public records. What we're hoping to do is to have some connection with the state library to build a model that really connects public records to the educational community as well. Now, one of the things when people do research, they do what I call vertical research. And you study cars, or you study people, or you study animals, or whatever it might be. But what we need to do is more lateral research. And you do lateral research in today's world with technology simply by connecting to the peripheral, connecting to the stakeholders. We have wonderful assets of information in our state library, in our University of Connecticut. The mills here in Manchester, the Cheney Mills, Manchester was known as a silk mill. If you look at our town seal, it's symbolic of the mulberry tree. which of course spawned the silkworms. And the records for the Cheney mills, the silk mills, are at the University of Connecticut Dodd Library. And wouldn't it be wonderful for people to sit in their home or to sit in this office here and be able to do research on not just records that are here, but throughout the state. And so that's a model that we're working on. And I really believe that not only for research purposes, but certainly for learning purposes, it's a good venue for students, particularly in the elementary and the secondary level, to learn about civics.
Definitely. Joseph, do you find it difficult to maintain your quality in today's economy?
No, because I'm pretty good. I don't mean that brashly. I believe in quality, and you do forecasting. You do always have a plan A, B, and C, and the quality of performance is very much pinnacle of what we do here. We not only have concern for the quality of what we produce, but the quality of how we produce it. We happen to have a performance measurement system, which is not in any way designed to determine whether we should have 10 people or 20 people working here, but designed as a way for us to identify how we're performing our work, which builds into the quality equation. Yes,
Bill, question, 1844, what type of government did they have?
Probably select, yeah, in 1823, there were 4 officers, if I remember correctly. There was the first selectman, there was a treasurer, and a secretary, and a treasurer, and a clerk. And a clerk also wore the hat as a tax collector. And there were basically 4 officers. If I remember correctly, they would have town meetings, annual meetings of type. There have been 2 documents and books on the history of Manchester. This one was written in the early 1924 by Matthew Speece, and there was also a book by Mr. Buckley that was written, I'm going to say, in the 40s or 50s, which recount the history and the evolution of Manchester. Very, very unique town.
Was it Democratic or Republican or?
For the most part, the reality of politics in Manchester from about the 20s forward, once party politics played in, it was very much a Republican town. And a lot of that, I'm told, had to do with the influence of the Cheney family, which ran the silk mills. So I would say for probably 40 years up until about 1956, Manchester was pretty much a Republican town. Since 1956, with exception of 2 or 3 local elections, perhaps possibly 5, it's been pretty much a Democratic town.
So it was an industrial influence on the government?
No question. No question about it. In fact, my family emigrated from Italy to come here and work in the mills. My maternal grandfather came here in 1901. He was a weaver. My father came here from Bari, Italy in 1912. He was a barber. And although he didn't work in the mills, he cut a lot of hairs of people that worked in the mills. He was a barber for 60 years, right adjacent to the mills.
Yeah.
Can you imagine kids, you get this all digitized, and have access to the original sources
Oh,
as
it's
opposed
awesome.
to somebody else's songs.
And if we can connect laterally to the State Library, to the Historical Society, and to the University of Connecticut and other places, it's just going to be phenomenal.
When we do this 3rd grade tours, the Historical Society does 3rd grade tours for the town children, and that's one of the things when they go into the mill to show, where the people came from and what the jobs were.
So you could say that we're milling around here.
Yes, but Manchester is unique in one sense in being a mill town, because the mill owners lived right within the town. They didn't live out in the heights somewhere else.
Yeah.
They also built housing that was various. 1 family, 2 family, 3 family, 4 family houses. And then when everything went bad in the Depression, they did auction them off, so that people who lived in the houses could buy the houses, and that's unfortunately.
You know what I'd like to do, I do have the conference room reserved, I wanna go up there, cause I wanna bring Attorney O'Neill in on the meeting, cause you wanna get him before he goes to lunch, and I do wanna meet you all. So why don't we kinda go back upstairs, go up to the what is called the Manchester Room?
Well, Mr. Camposio, I think our interview has happened.
Oh, it's been great.
Yeah, and if there's anything more you'd like to say up in the conference room.
Absolutely.
But I think our interview has happened right here. It isn't over.
Good copy, huh, Glendora?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't have funding for that sort of thing.
Now, Mr. Whitney, you did 2 studies in Manchester. What were they about?
The bank actually, the Manchester Bank merged with,
This is the study you did in Manchester.
various banks, those buildings.
And what was the other study?
Well, that's a lot of studies, but that was the only one in Manchester.
Oh, that was, oh, I thought it was 2.
We're gonna go up and get Tim, my goodness.
You're the requester, yeah. Yeah.
Sarah, do you have the brief? Who has the brief? Oh, good.
I think maybe. I think it might be.
Yeah, right straight to the,
All right.
that one and the one on the right.
Yeah, this is it. Oh wow.
You gotta get a shot of that.
Wow.
Oh, how pretty.
There you go. There you go.
Welcome to Manchester.
Oh,
Very nice.
can you read it, Greg? Does it come out?
Yep. Yeah, I can see it.
Thank you.
This is our Manchester room. When the town hall was built in 1923, this was the seat of government where all of the meetings were held. Prior to that, the Congregational Church next door served as the meeting place for local government. So, Attorney O'Neill will be in here shortly. He's
Mr. Schubert, Mr. John Schubert had an interesting comment. He wondered how many town municipal clerks were this progressive, and how many of them were doing this digitizing.
Most all are doing some form of scanning of property records now. They are not at a point of being as retroactively converted as we are in Manchester, but most clerks are now on the page of technology. By the way, I'll sign page 84 if you want.
Thank you, that's exactly what I want. He has a recipe in here.
Page 84.
So this is where they cook up recipes.
We don't mill around here, we cook recipes.
But I don't have a pen.
I'll get a special pen,
Okay,
you go
you got
back
a special pen?
downstairs.
Okay.
I got a special pen, I'll do that.
Okay.
That's
Here you
okay.
go. Oh, he's got a special pen.
Albert, come over and sit next to me.
Thank you.
This is quite a conference table, it sleeps 20.
I thought conferences these days were where they had to stand up to be sure the meetings were short.
This actually was at a bank that moved out of town, and they donated it to the town.
Did they really?
Yeah. And it's a nice setting here, and people like to come up here, and sometimes if it's not being used, they'll let people take their marriage vows here.
They do?
Yeah, occasionally. And,
Sarah, you wanted to ask Mr. Camposio a question.
Oh, I thought you were just doing that when I wanted to.
Well, I didn't do it very well.
Oh, all right. Well, I was curious that you said how you wanted all the districts in the state to be connected. And I wondered if you were the first district doing the digitizing, or if all the state was working on it.
Others have done it, but they haven't quite gone back as far as we have. I'd say most every clerk in the state has some form of a electronic searchable index. They have to have that was a law that was passed by the state about 3 years ago. So they must have a searchable index on a computer in their office. So that says all 169 clerks have some form of technology going. But there's great variation as to how far back it goes and exactly what it covers. You know, we're of the belief that green is good, and it's good in the sense that if you've seen some of the one-of-the-kind records downstairs, you'll see some more later on if you'd like. It's good to know they're there, but you certainly would not want hundreds upon hundreds of people touching them. So there's some value there. There's certainly value in terms of space. This building was renovated in 1998, so we've been in here since May of 1998, and we are rapidly running out of space because we still have to maintain books. There's no authority that permits us to go paperless. So we actually produce deeds in paper form. We produce them in a backup on a computer system, and accessible on that system. We put them on a CD, and we also have them on microfilm. By state law, we're required to have the public records, particularly land records and maps, on microfilm.
Do you have a question, Mr. Whitney?
Well, I was gonna say, do you store those duplicate records somewhere along from?
Yes, at Iron Mountain. You probably know better than I do where it is. You probably have been there. Right, Iron Mountain in New York is where what we do is we transmit our information to a vendor who reproduces the microfilm. We transmit it to them electronically. Used to be we'd send them a stack of papers. It's all now done electronically.
Really?
And from the electronic image, they reproduce it on microfilm. They also are required by law to audit our records. We have to have every record, land record we process audited, and they sign off on it and say it's good to go. Then they produce the microfilm, send the microfilm and the CD to Iron Mountain.
You know, they're going to start doing that with public access. when are they? Brooklyn said they were going to start doing it in January. Well, it's May and they haven't made it yet.
You know, unfortunately, there's a will of the way which does not include enough minds to do things about historic preservation. Government, local government is grasping at enough minimal opportunities to do things, and those things usually are directed rightfully toward education or toward infrastructure. So when you talk about historic preservation, you kind of get the short end of the stick sometimes. But unfortunately, these are one-of-a-kind records, and you have to have a model, you have to have a strategy. And, you know, in response to your question earlier, Glendora, we must always have 4 or 5 different contingencies as we move forward. Because the goal is to protect the integrity of the record, to protect and preserve the record.
You love it, don't you?
I love it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
You've been doing it how many years?
I've been clerk in Manchester since March of 1986. Prior to that, I was on our board of directors, which is also our town council. I served 3 terms there, and prior to that, I served 10 years as an elected member of the Board of Education. So I've been in politics some way, shape, or form since 1978 in Manchester. It's been a good run. Enjoyed it.
Do you have a question, Albert?
No, thank you.
Do you, Gregory?
No, I just would make a comment that the room, this room was used in the 20s. I like the curtains, and it's
Yeah.
like the White House cabinet, something like that.
It is a beautiful room. Before the renovation, the room looked nothing like this. In fact, the accounting department was in here. There were all kinds of boxes and partitions, and it was certainly not a pleasant sight. But since the renovation, things have improved vastly.
Did they find any money?
Not really, not that I'm aware of.
Does the fireplace work?
Fireplace does not work, it's just for show, my understanding. But it's really interesting. You know, I had my first experience in town hall. I think it was 9 or 10 years old. And this is kind of a sidebar trip here, but I thought you'd be amused by it. Every year, the local JCs would take a caravan of cars down to the Yale Bowl, and with young fellows like myself, to go see Yale play football. So my mom, one Saturday, in the fall of 1953, I believe it was, I dropped myself and a neighbor friend of mine on to town hall here. And there was this fellow there with a clipboard and taking name, okay, you go to that car, and so on. And so he took our names and he put us in his car, which was parked right adjacent to the building here. And so next thing we know, the caravan of cars are all leaving. Every car is going, but we're sitting there and still sitting here and not going anywhere. And finally, all the cars are gone. We say, well, you know, who knows? Well, this guy comes out of the building and says, hey kids, what are you doing in my car? And it turns out he was the janitor. And he had no intention of going to the Yale Baltimore football game.
Oh.
So we never got to go to
You
the
missed it.
That was my first experience.
Well, Joe, I can say one thing, you know, you never lack for table space to table the motions.
Oh, there you go.
Hold up, bow wow
Yes.
wow, Eli, yeah.
Absolutely. And the next year, they were very kind and made sure that we got in a car and
Oh,
the
that's
ball.
good. Then you were
And,
11.
and they even make sure our picture got in the paper.
Oh, that was such an anticlimax.
Could you tell us a little bit about the artwork?
Well, but the artwork or reproductions, Carol, you can chime in because you know a little bit more about this than I do. They're reproductions of various Cheney family paintings. The painting with the pole player is by Russell Cheney, who's a renowned artist. In fact, my wife and I were in Portland, Maine about 3 weeks ago, and we visited the Museum of Art in Portland, Maine, and there are works by Russell Cheney in there. And my understanding is a relative of the Cheney, a couple relatives now live in Portland, Maine.
How do you, hi!
Hi.
How do you
I'd like
spell
you all,
that name?
C-H-E-N-E-Y.
No, the artist.
Oh, Russell. Russell
Last name.
Cheney. Same.
Oh, okay. Hi there, how
This is
are you?
Tim O'Neill, the attorney,
Hi,
Nice to meet
town
you.
attorney of Manchester, and
My
I'm gonna
friend
have,
Sarah.
why don't you go around the room and
I'm
introduce everybody?
gonna put some more light in here.
Okay.
Okay, I want you to meet my friend Sarah, and my friend Arnie, and my friend,
Sarah, Arnie,
Albert,
Albert.
and John,
John.
and of course you know, and this
Yeah.
is my friend Ed Whitney. Ed Whitney is from Fairfield.
Westport now.
Okay. And Sarah and John are from Kinderhook, New York. Arnie's from Meriden. By the way, Arnie is the one that one of your friends in Meriden said they saw you on TV, and Meriden is his station that he's
My
from.
wife is from Sardinia.
Yeah.
Really, huh? Oh.
And
She
Sarah
was
John
at Wyoming High School.
From Kinderhook. And Greg
How about
Washburn is from down in Poughkeepsie area.
South Windsor. Oh, South Windsor, okay.
Well, how are you,
So
Mr.?
unfortunately, most of these people are probably Yankee fans, huh? Yes?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We're all Red Sox fans, aren't
We
we?
have a lot of Red Sox.
Even I went to a Boston Red Sox game the other day, so, took a little closer in.
Tim is, in addition to his duties as a town attorney, is very much involved with our local public access TV. And I'm going to guess about 3 to 4 years ago, the Cox Network changed how things were being done and literally gifted or transferred the responsibility for production over to the town of Manchester, which is now Channel 16. In addition to Channel 16, there is a pure public access or local access, to get a better word, Channel 15 for non-government programming.
I think Channel 14 and 15 are
14,
dedicated to
yeah.
that. So that Cox Cable in Manchester, anybody in the town, anybody in town or locally can go to Cox Cable and say, yeah, I have this show I want to produce, I want to air, and they will make accommodations on channels 14 and 15 to do that. However, the channel 16 that the town runs is restricted in the sense that we just can't throw anything on that channel that we want to. In the past, I've had some ideas about what I might want to run on channel 16, and it's limited to the fact that it has to have some relationship to the town government, the operation of town government, the departments within the town government, or topics of interest to town residents relating to how the town government functions. And we can't put any kind of, there's no advertising, there's no political discussion, there's no, anything that would be outside the realm of the operation of the town government does not go on Channel 16.
But those programs that you said you wanted on Channel 16, they could go on to Channel 15, couldn't they?
They could go on to Channel 15, but that would require some level of involvement and expertise with somebody to produce them through Channel 14 and Channel 15. Here in Channel 16, when I want to do some kind of a show, like I'm going to have a discussion of this year's budget, or going over the budget with town residents, I have people that I can call on in the town who help operate Channel 16 to produce that show. But if I want to waltz over to Cox Cable, because I have this great show on how the Yankees really aren't world champions, that they just really buy their championships, I'd have to find somebody to help produce that show for me, because I couldn't use town resources to do that. I'd have to get somebody, to help me with that.
I'll do it for you. Joseph is going to present my show on Channel 15.
Yeah, well, and Tim, of course, and I spoke, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to meet him, because he and I would like